So what are SVGs and why they matter? An SVG file, short for Scalable Vector Graphics File, is a standard graphic file type used for rendering two-dimensional images on the internet. Unlike other popular images file format, the SVG format stores images as vector, which is a type of graphic made up of points, lines, curves, and shapes based on mathematical formulas. SVG files are written in XML, markup language used for storing and transferring digital information. The XML code is an SVG specifies all of the shapes, colors, and texts that comprise the image. So that's the XML file. The cool thing about SVG is that they can be easily modify and generate using code, easily converted to base64 data. Now you might wonder why we want to convert SVG file into base64 data. The answer is very simple. You can display 64 base64 images in the browser without the need for hosting provider. Let's take this example. Copying and pasting the following code in your browser URL and display the same image. Okay, let's copy it. So here it is. So that's a great feature of SVG. As you notice that you'll paste it in is you paste it is not a common URL, is in fact composed two parts. Tell the browser data browser to handle the data as image SVG plus XML. The base64 data contains the actual data. This is useful because even if Solidity is not able to handle images, it is able to handle a string, and SVG aren't anything else than sequence of tags and strings. We can easily retrieve runtime. Plus, converting everything to base64 will allow us to store our images on chain without the need of object storage. So the combination of SVG and base64 encode will use in our smart contract. So smart contract didn't interact directly with the images, so we can convert it into a string base64 string, and then we can interact it with the smart contract, or we can use it in the smart contract. Now let's see how we can use them. Now that we explained why SVG are important, let's learn how to generate our own on-chain SVG and convert them into base64 data. Create a generate character function to create the SVG image. We'll need a function that will generate NFT image on-chain using some SVG code taking into consideration the level of the NFT. Doing this in Solidity is a little tricky, so let's copy the following code first and then go through the different parts of it. So let's copy this function and paste it here. Now let's go through it. The first thing you should notice is the bytes type, a dynamically sized array of up to 30 bytes where you can store the strings and integers. Okay, here it is. If you want to dig deeper into bytes, on the other hand, I really suggest you to go to this guide by Gene Kevler. You can see it here. In this case, we are using the store the SVG code representing the image of our NFT transform into an array of bytes thanks to abi.encode-packed function. It takes one or more variables and encode them into API. You can read more about the API global Solidity objects and the encode function on the Solidity documentation. Here it is. As you can notice, the SVG code takes the returns value of get levels function and use it to populate levels property. We'll implement this function later on, but take note that you can use the function and variable dynamically change your SVG. So where it is? Here it is. Here we are calling the function getLevels. As we have seen before, for visualizing an image on the browser, we need to have a base64 version of it, not the bytes version. Plus, we'll need to prepend that data image SVG XML base64 string to specify the browser that base64 string is an SVG image and how to open it. To do so, in the code above, we are returning the encoded version of SVG turned into base64 using base64.encode with the browser specification using prepended using specification string prepended using the ABI encode function, pet function. Now that we have implemented function to generate our image, we need to implement a function to get the level of our NFT. So here it is. There is a SVG, and then we are just encoding the SVG here, and also this required to display it in the browser, so we are just embedding it with it and also encoding it in and converted it to a string, and then we are returning from this function. So now let's create the get level function to retrieve the NFT level.